Hello. Hello. All right, there goes. We'll get started in a little bit. Drop any questions in the chat. Gonna be going over some rankings, Q&A. Get everything adjusted real quick. This is the audio. Okay. All right. Game's coming up tonight. Game is coming up tonight. We got the Seahawks and the Cardinals playing. And over the course of time, we'll be going over all the different positions for this upcoming week and seeing if there's any value that I could add to your guys' thought process for each position. Hey, Faded Hawk. So you're trying to trade for Bijan Robinson. You got CD, Nakua, Kamara, Genti, Montgomery, Scatterboo, Pickens, Keenan Allen, Ibuka, Daniel Jones, Ferguson, and Warren. Who should I trade for him? Yeah, so I don't. So when I look at trades, right, I try to think, what does this other person need that I have, that we could swap value, especially the high capital picks, right? Like if it was like an eighth rounder and somebody's trying to get Keenan Allen like off your team or whatnot, like you're more willing to let them go, right? But like Nakua for your situation right now, right? For you to give up Nakua, right, Puka right now, it would emotionally be difficult. Like you'd see a lot of value because he's basically the best wide receiver in the game right now, right? Um, and so for you to give him up, you'd have to either feel like you're getting a haul or your needs would having to be met in some way, shape, or form, right? So if like you were completely streaming at quarterback or something like that, and you were just literally just picking it off the waiver every week, and then somebody offers you Lamar Jackson, then maybe you would consider something like that, right? Or you're picking up off waivers for the wide receiver every week, and then someone offers you Nakua, right? You'd be willing to more do it if your needs are met. So I don't know if this person needs wide receiver, if they need a combination. Like they just need depth at both. But I don't think CD. CD's a big question mark for me right now, at least, because it's been a little ambiguous on the severity of the injury. Saying we're going to come back in a couple weeks, but I don't know like where the truth in that is. So, um, if that person sees CD as a high value, maybe that plus like if they need another wide receiver, that plus something they can use now, right? Like Keenan Allen or Abuka, maybe they would go for. But like right now, Bijan is he is performing at the running back one level. So I would say that person, like what they wouldn't want to give up. Do you have any more details on that person's team? Um on like what you think they might need? Um but yeah, while he answers that, trade, hey, incognito. Okay, incognito. Uh let's see, trade Lamar and Flowers for Clyde, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Saquon. So, um, is this I would assume that you're getting Saquon, and you're trading away Lamar and Flowers for depends on your depth, right? But what I'm looking at here is like Saquon is probably going to be a locked and loaded, RB1, and that's your value versus uh Lamar, right? But I don't know if you would consider Kyler a starter, or is that just bench depth? Because you know at this point you would be stacking Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler, and I don't know if I have it on this screen or whatnot, but uh essentially what I've noticed on the trends right now is that Arizona is extremely underperforming their expected output. Yes, some some game scripts went certain ways, but right now Kyler plus Marvin Harrison's one of the like I think worst performing teams in terms of points so far. Um, so essentially, what you're probably getting from that is Saquon to be locked and loaded in your lineup, and then like I don't know if you're gonna hold Kyler on the bench, you know, and just wait for him to pop off. Marvin Harrison, like he was supposed to be slotted as between a right receiver one or two, but like at this point he's almost looking like should I even try to flex him or not, right? Or at least that's my opinion based on the trends of how they've been basically kind of underperforming every week. Um, and then Lamar, in terms of even though he was projected as the number two quarterback, right? He Even though he was projected as the number two quarterback, he's still outperforming his projection, which actually kind of surprised me. Is it on here? Yeah. So if you look at the quarterback list I got on that in that top right, he's right now 82 points, and he's 14 points over what they projected him to be at this point, right? So over the course of 3 games, he's basically getting you 4 to 5 points more than I hope I did that math right. Yeah, 4 to 5 points more per game than what he was already expected, and he was already projected to be the number two. So he's doing very well. Versus, I don't even know if Kyler made this list or not. But from what I remember, their team is underperforming. So I guess to flip that back on you, I kind of don't like that unless you are hurting at that running back, because I would play Flowers over Marvin Harrison at this point right in time right now. Yes, things could change down the line, right? But uh, I think unless you like really need that that Saquon or like that's exactly what you're trying to do, I would not do. Not accepting the trade. Oh wow, yeah. Glad it helped you. Glad it helped you. Drop anything else you got too. Sports. Appreciate that incognito. Okay, so sports spotlight: Brock Purdy or Kyler Murray. So if you're looking at my chart here on the right, where I have Kyler. Oh yeah, he is on the bottom. For me, he's in a negative negative offense right now, meaning like that offense is not performing as it was projected to be. So he's kind of on my like watch list, right? Like that's why he's on the stock, although on the stock downside. But Brock Purdy, he's hurt right now. He's supposed to come back. And I would say for me, of course that rushing upside is uh nice for Kyler, but it's just I don't know, year over year, like we always want that same top 5 quarterback season he had, but he hasn't done it. So if I had to pick in a vacuum based on where they're at right now, I think I would pick Purdy, but that rushing upside is always there with Kyler. It's just, how much have they really used that at this point of time or not? But appreciate that question. Hopefully that gives enough context on that one, sports. But let me know if I confused you even more. Since we've been talking quarterbacks right now, right? Let's kind of go into what this list means and what I'm trying to show here in these graphs. So on the right, stock up or down. What we're comparing what's actually scored so far on the year, right? Their total points versus every game the experts and an AI kind of spit out a projection, right? And we somewhat base our decisions not only what we find on from other people speaking, right, but like what is these projections coming in at versus the defenses, et cetera, the positions that you're playing. And so when I say stock up, what I mean by that is that these players, comparatively to what you would have expected, like you obviously expect Lamar Jackson to perform well, Josh Allen to perform well, Jalen Hurts to perform well, and then Mahomes and Baker were also drafted early, right? But these guys I'm listing as stock up because over the course of 3 games, they're performing better than what they were projected to be. So they might be, in my eyes, that means the offense is flowing more so than they thought. So they're not only quarterbacks to keep an eye on, but since quarterbacks are the most important position to make the offense go, if these guys are up, then it's high potential that their wide receivers can also be up on the year. And then vice versa, right? Vice versa, we have stock down. So this is like, at the beginning of the season, where they're projected and they're basically underperforming over the course of time. And Joe Burrow, he got injured, right? So I didn't really include him, but Tennessee, so Cam Ward, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Flacco, and Michael Penix Jr., all those offenses, not only the offenses, but then the quarterback play themselves are not doing well. So that list is more so the opposite, right? Like who I've started to downgrade, not only as quarterbacks, because some of these guys, right? Like Trevor Lawrence, he was kind of projected to be potentially good. Some of these other guys were supposed to be able to make their offenses go, but no, that hasn't been the case. And then in terms of streamers for the week, I'd be looking at Geno Smith, and his matchup is against the Bears, and the Bears have not been performing well defensively. So I think that's good. And he's riding the momentum off of his last week, really good performance. So if you're in a pinch and need to stream a quarterback, I would say Geno Smith. Tyrod Taylor is also interesting to me as well if Justin Fields is out. Historically he has performed pretty well at like a 20 points per game basis. And then this week, the Jets are facing the Dolphins, and the Dolphins have not been able to stop anybody offensively. And so those two I would look at. On the reverse side of things, if Tyrod doesn't work out, I know Tua hasn't been very consistent, but he is also an interesting pick for me because the Jets have not been able to have a good defense as well. So those are who I would choose for streamers if I had to this week. Let me adjust this camera real quick while before I get to the next section. Okay. And then who am I sitting this week if I had these quarterbacks? I would say Prescott, he just lost CD. And the Packers, their defense looks impeccable right now. So I would just honestly sit him. If you have to drop to make space, go ahead. But he has upside, right? Dak has had good seasons before, and when CD comes back, I have a feeling that that's possible that team gets rolling again. And then Jared Goff, he's playing the Browns, and the Browns defense shut down Jordan Love and the Packers, who were looking like potential playoff contenders, Super Bowl contenders. And it's like the Browns, I don't know if they, can do exactly what they did to Green Bay, but even so, like I would push the brakes a little bit on Jared Goff. They his last game he underperformed because the run game did so well. So it might be possible that they try to lean on the run game again against Cleveland. Space it out with some air, but less of an attacking game rather uh, than attacking through the air, attacking on the ground rather attacking through the air. Hold on, let me get these comments out of here. Timeout. And timeout. Okay. All right, let's move to the next one. So we covered quarterbacks. Let's get into some wide receiver talks. So wide receivers, right? Wide receivers on the year, I would say has been a very interesting start to the wide receiver position. Some players coming out of nowhere that, we expected to possibly be good, but nothing like this. So what I have highlighted in the stock up section is blue and yellow, right? Blue meaning these guys have high value, you're not going to let them go, but I would potentially move away from them, try to trade them right now if possible. And the reason being is because Keenan Allen, Quinn Johnson on the same team. And yes, they've been able to feed both mouths. Lad McConkey has not, basically scored a touchdown at all. I kind of see this offense as so good from every angle that it's just going to be who's weak based on who fits into that offensive mold, right? So if they're playing a team 1 week and they can hit them with Quinton, they're going to hit them with Q. But if the next week they're going to need Keenan Allen, they'll use that. The next week they need Lad McConkey, they'll use that. So because their value is so high right now, Keenan and Quinton, if you could flip them right now for something, solid for rest of the season, I would do so. And then same thing with Ricky Pearsall, because Ricky Pearsall, right now he's kind of the only mouth to feed. Jennings, Kittle, as people come back, the targets are going to spread out again a little more. So if you have, value to be given right there, he might be a good sell high candidate. And then in terms of the yellow people, I would say Michael Pittman, Cortland Sutton, and George Pickens would be very interesting to watch this week. I'm a little higher on them, not only because um, if you look at their difference, they're performing higher every single game than expected, but they each kind of have solidified something in their offense where Pittman seems to be the guy where he's that reliable person that their offensive coordinators and offensive team trust. It seems like he's built trust with Jones. So he may not have 30-point games, but it does seem like he's going to get consistent targets every week, consistent catches because he's a solid catcher, and then he'll find his occasional way into the end zone, maybe more so than not than every other receiver this year. So Pittman, Debo right now, especially with Terry McLaurin potentially out for who knows how long, and he seems to be getting guaranteed touches every week. He's outperforming, his projections. So I think he's also solid. Cortland Sutton did have a down week, but bounced back, and it seems like he is their guy. I know Troy Franklin and some of these other guys have been making moves, but Cortland Sutton has been there, has been performing. So it would be good to see that consistency stay for another week or two, or 2 out of the next 3 weeks. But I would keep my eye on him. And then George Pickens, because CD's out, this is going to be his time, right? This is going to be his time to potentially shine, and he's going to get massive more targets because with that vacuum of CD out. So I would watch George Pickens as well. Hey, Lapski, let's see. Trade accepted. You're getting Ibuka and Genti and giving Bowers and Chase Brown. Oh, wow. As I kind of like that. I am not high on Chase Brown. I'm actually kind of the opposite. Let me see if I could pull up his stats right here for you. So he was actually one of my sit candidates, right? So in the very bottom left for Chase Brown, under bold sits, the bottom one, he's on a terrible downward trend, so like I know he was projected high, but it just seems like week after week, he's getting less opportunities, and then with everything in disarray, even though Genti is not performing extremely well at this moment of time, his ceiling is just exponentially higher than where Chase Brown is right now, right? Because the Bengals offense just looks in complete disarray, and then he's just not getting anywhere in the run game. Genti, I think, is definitely an upgrade there. And then Bowers, I don't know how injured he is, right? And it's interesting because if all things were the same as last year, right, it would look like a little more questionable to me. But because he's injured right now, we don't know how severe that injury is. As long as you have another tight end, right, then your roster for context. So you got, dude, you're doing well. Oh, you had Juwan Johnson. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. And then so now you got Genti. You got Genti and Pollard. And then you're going to be rolling out Odunze and JSN as your receivers. Ibuka's probably in your flex right now. CD is sitting on your bench. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, that's definitely, I would say that's definitely an upgrade because Now you got those two. If and then we'll see what happens with Tootin and Krosky, right? But that would uh basically be your running back depth, and maybe you could poke around a little bit there too, um, since you're decently solid at wide receiver. Um, if there's anything out there, yeah, I know, you know, I think I think what I've felt over time when people say they're a full go, right? When Bowers is a full go, like, yeah, it's just hard to trust like what people say versus what the decoys are, and the only way you can really tell is in real time, in real life. um but yeah, but you got, and then Juwan Jennings, is that what it said? Juwan Jennings. Yeah. Oh, you're back, Faded Hawk. How are you, sir? So I don't, did you hear hear anything, or if not, I can go over your thing again. Uh, hey, JJ Keats, Benson or Kamara? Benson or Kamara? You know, it depends on if you're projected to win or lose. But since you have to make that decision within the next 5 minutes, what my thought here on this is, if you are coming from behind, I would for sure play Benson, just because we already know what Kamara is right at this point. But even if you were behind, now that I'm kind of saying this out loud, I don't think there's anything wrong with starting Benson, just because, like, who else can they give the ball to on this short week? Like, he's the only one that really knows the offense well. And he's already been performing well. He's proven a pass catcher. So, if you're in any type of PPR as well, I think that would be helpful. Um, who would it be wise to do Josh Allen for Bijan? You're trying to figure out what he needs. Wait, I'm trying to remember which side on this. You're trying to get Bijan, and so you're giving away Josh. Ooh, that's a tough one for me. Let me take a look back at the rest of your list. So if you give up, because you have Jones, you're thinking, you know, okay, let's go back to that. Let's go back to that quarterback. Let's go back to that quarterback page. So Josh Allen is still also outperforming. If you look at the top right, Lamar Jackson's number one. Josh Allen, he's also still outperforming his thing. Daniel Jones is outperforming his two, but you know, I I would say there's a little more risk with Daniel Jones, right? Because if you look at his performances and the points that he did get what, 3 touchdowns, I think, rushing, which I'm not saying it's going to completely go away, but I think that split is a little still unproven on who's going to get the goal line carries, right, on the 1 and the 2 yard line between him and Jonathan Taylor. So I would, I think at this point in the week, I'm not sure if your trade deadline's already up, but Jones is playing the Rams, and if he can do anything against the Rams, he's pretty much locked for the rest of the season, I would say. But and here's the thing with Bijan. Bijan is performing very, very well, right? He's still a top 5. I mentioned before that I had Drake London, but when I look at that Atlanta offense, it scares the crap out of me a little bit. And so, like, right now, he's getting the work in both, but there was like if they choke up on him and they force Penix to perform, I don't know if that production is as consistent as it has been over these first 3 weeks. Trying to figure out who we need. Do you want me to tell you who he has on this lineup and see if I should do a 3v3? Sure. I mean, whatever options you want to explore, man. I'm here to talk them out with you. Yeah. So you got. You got Ferguson and Warren, right? So you're deep there too, because both those guys are good. It seems like you're this is an 8-team league from what I remember too, right? And now that I said that out loud, if it's an 8-team league as well, um, just think about that the top um the top quarterback in tight end position weighs more heavily as well as the less teams are there, right? So when there's eight teams, then your Lamar Jackson value, your Josh Allen value goes up. Right now, Jake's Ferguson, who knows if he ends up ending as that top, but his value and the elite values of production there are higher as well, just because there's typically a cliff, right? Of talent at both of those positions after like the top like 4 or 5 quarterbacks or the top 4 or 5 um, tight ends, they typically, drop off more significantly in value. So since you have Josh Allen, I could be if you're not in an 8-team league, I'm so sorry, but I just for some reason remember you telling me that you were in an 8-team league, um, which is what I would kind of look at. But yeah, we could look at the 3v3. And while you do that, so I went over the quarterbacks. I went over, I think, half of the wide receivers. Oh yeah, stock down. That's where I was. Stock down. I'm not good on Metcalf anymore. He's kind of just sitting there on my bench, but I'm not my outlook on him's not so good. Mike Evans with the injury, Chris Godwin returning, and Ibuka playing extremely well. It's hard for me to keep him up there with that expected 1,000-yard season thing he's been doing in touchdowns. I think that ball is going to be spread a little more. So I'm a little down on Evans. And then DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison too. Like DJ Moore, they're fabricating touches for him to like come out of the back on sweeps or like run plays, because he's not as, he might have just lost that half step, or maybe just Odunze system. I'm not sure, but he's definitely lost that number 1 spot. And then Marvin Harrison, he needs to show something. He's in that slot right now where if you're expecting him to be between a wide receiver 1 and a 2, he's not getting enough targets. And then the targets he's getting are not as high value, meaning like it's not like he's getting, the open space and across the middles or down the line. Like even so, it's the yards per are not there. So I'm down on him as well. And then the people in yellow are like, I'm a little cautious of them. I love Tedero McMillan. I have him too, but I've not sold on that offense. I don't know if that's going to be, how many touchdowns, what's the upside, there for him this year. He's a great talent, don't get me wrong. And then Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, right? We had that yo-yo week. There's somebody who asked, who do I play these guys? And they both scored this last week because of the game script, but their defense and run game are good. So that's going to be a hard one to judge. You might be just playing them, on games that you expect it to be like more of a shootout, but then might have to sit them during games that they're not. In terms of Jameson Williams, it's kind of similar to Marvin Harrison Jr., but I don't think his outlook is as bad, because I do view Detroit's offense a lot better than Arizona's offense. So even though to me they face the same problems in terms of like what kind of touches they're kind of getting, the misusage, but Jameson's in a better offense, so that's why I would be more willing to hold him. Lad McConkey, he's so down this year so far, but like I said, I think there will be opportunities for him to come back. It's just going to be hard to tell when and where until he gets on a little bit of a streak. And Drake London, in one of the most negative performing teams, especially through the past. Such a good talent, but just got to watch to see if they can turn anything around. So so Faded Hawk says, so he's got Mahomes, Bijan, Irving, McConkey, Pearsall, Kraft, Judkins, London, Marvin Harrison, Jameson Williams. So, okay, that's kind of basically goes exactly what I was just talking about, right? So this person, he has wide receivers, but they're all like kind of all over the place, right? Like if I put myself in this person's shoes, sure, my wide receivers on paper look good, but as soon as Jennings comes back and or Kittle, it's like, who am I playing every week? Am I playing McConkey? Am I playing Pearsall? Am I playing London, right? Am I playing Marvin Harrison, Jameson Williams? Like who am I playing week to week? Sure, Xavier Worthy's coming back, right? But so from then your team, it's like at this moment of time, you're probably not giving up Nakua, right? But some of these other guys, like I know you love Abuka or something like that, but his value, might be high packaged with somebody. Or wait, what is this guy's tight ends? This guy's got Kraft. Oh, Kraft's locked and loaded. And then if he has Mahomes, right, and he has Worthy, then he's probably like in his head thinking that Mahomes can have some type of bounce back in these next couple games. So his value that he perceives for Josh Allen might not be as high as it's actually worth, right? Because Josh Allen is for sure worth it. But if I'm sitting there and I have Mahomes who's been rushing well, my players have been out, they're slowly coming back. Like I would be seeing more upside than downside there. But in terms of his wide receivers, that's something that could look appetizing to like a Keenan Allen and a Buka, or if Pickens does well, something there. But I think for that position or that person, he's the most weak at like a reliable feeling wide receiver where he's like, I'm gonna play this guy every week, so I only have to make one decision. I only have to make one wide receiver decision. But right now, every week he has anxiety, or he has stress about like, which two am I going to play, because nobody's been consistent yet. I hope that makes sense and hope that helps. Let me know if any other thoughts come up from that. Moving forward to the fringe streamers, Eric Iromanuer. I'm liking that guy in terms of the matchup this week, and he's been looking like the red zone threat compared to Calvin Ridley. So if you can stash, that's a possibility. And then Tyquan Thornton, we were just kind of talking about that offense, but he seems to be gaining Patrick Mahomes' trust, and it kind of seems like when Patrick Mahomes starts to like somebody, he starts to hyper target them. So there might be some good things coming with those guys. If you're in a deep league. Oh yeah, for sure, bro. For sure. Yeah. Wish you the best and everything. You won last week, right? I hope. um, but yeah, for sure. Let me know any thoughts too. I'll be around Sunday before the games as well. So feel free to drop in then. And then my sick candidates, Jerry Jeudy. I am not liking. Everybody wanted Joe Flacco to come through, right? But it is not strong. It is good job, Faded Hawk. Get the W, got the W. But yeah, everybody wanted Joe Flacco because they thought, but he's just not getting the touchdowns. He's just not coming through. So not liking that play. And then we talked about how bad Cincinnati looks. So T. Higgins also a negative. So as a wide receiver, I would not be looking to him if at all I could. And then let's go running backs. We talked about some of these guys. So the blue guys in blue, I would look to offload if I could. and just saying, these guys all have high name value versus where um, they started the year, so people's perceived value will be higher of them. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty in those offenses, right? Like right now, how like Javonte is going to be reliant on a good offense in order to score, right? And right now with CD out, is that true? But he's riding good value. So if you can squeeze either another game or early trade out of him, possibly, right? David Montgomery, he all right, bro. I'll see you in a little bit. I'll see you, Faded Hawk. Um, David Montgomery, right? I would say right now his value is is definitely high, just because he's coming off one of the biggest game, if not the biggest game of his career. And then in addition to that, um, you know, it basically looks like him and uh, what's his name? I can't believe I'm blanking right now. Jahmyr Gibbs are splitting touches. Um, Yet I think script plays a little bit into that. I'm not sure. Um, I'm not sure if that maintains the whole year, right? Same thing with Travis Etienne. Bayshall Tutin's coming in a little more and more work, and so why I'm saying their stock is up, but they're in blue as in like maybe sell, is because they're all looking good right now, but there's all a lot of uncertainty in each one of these guys' role in offense. J.K. Dobbins looks like a guaranteed touchdown and start every week. But typically rookies start coming in towards the back half of the year, right? So J.K. Dobbins also has always started off years good, but gotten injured. So not wishing or thinking injury upon anybody, but if you can maximize their value while you have them, then that's why I think they're a sell high. The other people I would lock up there, Jaylen Warren, he's looking great. If he just gets a little bit more opportunities at touchdown, I think he's going to be locked between a low end one to a high end two. Cam Scatterboo, same thing. I think their profile is very similar for what they can provide for their offense, and if with Tracy out, depending on how long, who knows if he runs away with this, or and then they bring Tracy back slowly, but he's somebody I dropped because I needed to just for a second. I thought I would be able to get him. Somebody swooped him and not have to play him this week, so that was bad. That was bad because I picked up Jordan Mason, who's another guy who's potentially they take Aaron Jones back slower, right? He's on IR, and if Jordan Mason can just play extremely well, like why would they rush him back, right? To make sure that he's healthy. And then Omarion Hampton now has the whole backfield to himself. So stock up on those guys. Stock down on, I'm almost completely done with these guys in red. Tony Pollard, because Tajay Spears is coming back. Ramondre Stevenson, fumble king. So I don't know how much longer they try to use him. Nick Chubb, it seems like, he's starting to split touches. And I just think over time, as this offense stays stalled, they're going to just try new more and more things to try to figure out something to get this offense going in Houston. And Chase Brown, completely down on, I don't even know what value you can get for him, but he's a complete sit at this point in time. People in yellow, people to keep an eye on: Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Breece Hall, Travion Henderson, all kind of skating on that downward trend, right? Versus their projections of where they were to start the year. And I don't know if that continues, or not, but I would just keep an eye on them to say that to me, their stock is slightly starting to go down. Some fringe stashes, because we know running backs are always scarce. It seems like Rico Dowdle is starting to pick up more and more touches every week. So even though he didn't score, necessarily score a lot, but maybe because he's, was a new player coming back into that offense, that they decided to work him in slowly, and just, play it for the longer game with Chuba and not wear him out. Um, so that might be an interesting stash. And Blake Corum too started to get more and more touches. Plus, his yards per carry are insane right now. So his last 2 games, his yards per carry were actually really, really high. Um, and so that's what I would look at. That's what I would look at there to potentially stash Blake Corum to see if he gets more and more touches because his yards per carry are really good. Some bold sits. I don't know if this is bold, but I am completely out on Isaiah Pacheco. I he just looks real bad. He just looks really bad. And then Chase Brown too. Completely out on those guys. I would sit them. It's hard to cut those guys, but it's it's not looking good for either of them. And finally, tight end position, right? Tight end position. Jake Ferguson, Juwan Johnson, Hunter Henry. Who would have known that if we said at the start of the year that your top your top tight ends are these guys? Like you would not believe it. But the tight end position is so weird. So, them as well as, Dalton Kincaid's not getting as many touches, but he's getting he's getting a lot of looks that are high value in the end zone and in the tight end position. A lot of times a touchdown is going to put you into like the top 7, right? So keep an eye on him. Zach Ertz seems like he's going to be a reliable target in that offense. It almost feels like they got Debo, and if they get McLaurin back, they got the guys out wide. Uh, and then their number 3 option is looking like Zach Ertz, and he's veteran enough to get some good opportunities and open spots in the end zone. So he's somebody to look out for as well. And I think these guys are at their high stock points. Mark Andrews and Harold Fannin. With Isaiah likely coming back, I don't see Mark Andrews maintaining high value over time. Could be wrong. He could pull off what he did last year again, but with Isaiah likely coming back, I don't foresee high target volume there either. And then Harold Fannin, there's just so many mouths to feed in that offense, and there's no touchdowns to go around. That I think right now he's got the highest value he can until some more touchdowns start flowing. People I'm down on, Kyle Pitts, more so just because the Atlanta offense looks not so good, and there's other options out there, right? Same thing with Evan Ingram. He just has not been anything good this year, and he's injured, so I'd be out on him. And then the people I am hesitant a little bit on: Sam Laporta, David Njoku, TJ Hawkinson, potentially thinking, they've been underperforming. So to watch it one more week, um, just one more week, I would do that. Your ESPN football is glitching for you. It says Kenneth has 0 points and Seahawks defense has 0 points. Yeah, the apps kind of do that sometimes. They definitely are not, always perfect, but it should update over time. I know it's a little bit stressful seeing no points, but they always get it corrected, right? Like they always get it corrected by the end. But so you got Kenneth Walker in the Seahawks defense playing right now, Giannis? Well, I'll wait for you to answer. I'll keep going through this. So and then some fridge starts if you're streaming this week in the tight end position, and you're in a deeper league. I would look at these guys. So Chigaquanqua seems like he's getting decent targets every week, and I think that's mainly because that offense, it doesn't look great. His touchdown upside might not be there, but he's getting consistent targets, which in a tight end position, if you're getting over 5 targets a game, you're doing pretty well. So he would interest me. And then another one, Brenton Strange, his target trend is also going up and up every game. With how that offense looks in Jacksonville, it's it right now. I feel like they're trying to figure things out, and I think he's been kind of increasing targets week over week. So if I was in a deep league, these are the two guys that I might think of streaming. And then people I'm sitting, we talked about Evan Ingram. Even if he's healthy, I would not be playing him. And then Dallas Goedert, um, his target share. I mean, we look at that Philly offense. It's like roulette. And then the Tampa Bay defense is pretty good. So even though he scored a touchdown last week, he only got like what 2 targets, caught 1 catch for the touchdown. So I think that's a little bit risky. Um, if I were to choose that myself. Um, so that's everybody that I kind of got here. Let me see if there's any other notable names that I want to talk about. Let's see. I think that's everyone. All of them. Check the wide receivers real quick. Oh, let's go back to that. Okay, I did not mention it. It seems like Garrett Wilson this year is is gonna be good. Is gonna be good as a solid wide receiver one. So I think he's got good value there. And then depending on this week's New York game, Malik Neighbors, if he has a down game, I might be targeting him. Um, just because from that owner's point of view, it's been so inconsistent. But he's probably the best talent of that class. Um, and then it's Devontae Adams is interesting to me too. He's been right at his projections. He's not been necessarily getting the most amount of catches, but you know, for how new he is to the offense, I think he's getting a lot of looks in the red zone or in important positions where that offense is probably going to score some points. So um, he could be an interesting one as well. I think that's everything. So appreciate everybody watching.